temperatures may be cooling off, but the tea is always hot on Tea with Tommy B. I'm your host, Tommy Byers. We have a bone-rattling show for you today. On today's episode, you will feel the need for speed when we sit down with film theory professor O'Brien Stanley to get his take on one of the biggest blockbusters of this year. What is a show without treats? Later on in the show, we will feast on a cheap and easy meal prepared by co-host Taylor Justice. All this and more on Tea with Tommy B. Tea with Tommy B is an entertainment variety show that explores Tinseltown and possibly releasing a few secrets along the way. We have informative discussions on current events and topics occurring in our community and on campus. Southeast Texas has played a major impact on the entertainment industry. From music to film, the Golden Triangle has left its mark. I feel it is important to tap into the success Southeast Texas has and has continued to have on televisions and radios across the globe. College students often find themselves dining on brown bag specials. That is why occasionally we will have a segment called Cheap Cheap Meals to help students prepare a quick and inexpensive meal. In the tea room, there is always something brewing. This is where we will find co-host Taylor Justice, who is preparing something yummy for us all to try. Taylor, it sure smells amazing.
Thanks, Tommy. Right now I'm finishing up a quick and easy chicken quesadilla, and I have to agree with you, it does smell pretty good. And right now we got it all cut up and ready to serve.
Oh, those look really good, and I can't wait to give it a try later. It's golden brown and perfect, just the way I like it, and I'm pretty sure our viewers at home, I can't wait to make them themselves. When we come back, we will roll out the red carpet to get Lamar University communication professor O'Brien Stanley's breakdown on one of the biggest blockbusters of this year. You are watching Tea with Tommy B on LUTV.
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
you're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
STEM is everywhere. Like here, behind the scenes of The Walking Dead.
When we break down clothes, we tumble it with trisodium phosphate, rock salt, and dish detergent.
We stitched together images of our model and created a 3D set that could be walked through in a VR headset.
We're able to turn 12 walkers into 1,000 walker boards.
STEM can create new worlds on and off the screen. What will you make with STEM? Get inspired at shecanstem.com.
I'm sorry, guys.
Welcome back to Tea with Tommy B, where we are here at the Lamar University News Desk. Long before Netflix made us afraid of our neighbor's barbecue, Top Gun Maverick would fly into theaters. Join me in welcoming Lamar University Communications Professor O'Brien Stanley, who helps us better understand why 9 million moviegoers needed to feel the need for speed. Welcome, Professor Stanley. How's it going today?
Doing well and glad to be here.
9 million viewers decided to go to the movies on the first 3 days, which is 4 times the original Top Gun viewing audience. Did this movie help rejuvenate the movie theater?
Oh, absolutely. It is still playing. Yes, people are going to see it in droves. It's interesting. We've been talking about why that they could be going, and I think your barbecue comment, it got me to thinking. It's a movie that everybody can enjoy. I know we talk about this a lot today. We're so divided as a country, but no matter how you feel in terms of your patriotism or point of view, outlook so much divides us. That film you can go and enjoy it with everybody. And it's such a character-driven film too. Those people are trying to be redeemed, kind of a sense of, we all like to be redeemed when we go to a film. And there's that deep sense of care, redemption in the film. 9 million people, I mean, why are we going back?
This film was able to show where America has come. It was a very diverse casting of members.
Oh, exactly. Women, African Americans, Latinos. It's very much more diverse than it was from 1989. 1989, definitely a male-centered film. But this film, it reflects who we are. And I think you can kind of sit back and say, I like these changes. This is more reflective of us now. That's just one thing about it that feels right about the film. So much that feels right.
And you talk about character development. How was this film able to follow the original storyline and able to recreate and establish those characters?
Well, like you were talking about, the one older character that not many, Penny, who's barely seen in the original film, maybe mentioned in the original film, but yet you feel like you get to know Goose from the original film. He's dead, he dies in the original film, but so many of those connections that are built. I think one thing too is the sense of who directed it. It's the original was directed by Ridley Scott's brother, Tony Scott. Of course, Ridley Scott from Alien, Blade Runner, famous director. But Tony Scott was a terrific action director. And this feels like it was, not only do you have the characters, of course, Tom Cruise maintaining his persona, but definitely totally in the right place for being in the film. But the whole feel of the movie, it feels like a Tony Scott film. It feels like he directed this one too. So much, yeah.
And on that topic, this movie had romance. It had real fighter jets. It had thrill. It had suspense. It had a little bit of everything. How was it able to reconnect itself 35 years later? How are we able to bring in a new audience, that not necessarily their grandparents saw it or their parents saw it, but how are we able to draw that new audience in?
Oh, that's a good question. That's the magic formula that Hollywood loves to get. I was thinking about a question like that, and how will it? For one thing, I'm working on the answer, but B, how will it affect genres? Because Hollywood always is going to look at a film like this and say, "Ooh, action adventure genre, Navy SEAL genre, military type stuff." But we've had tons of military films that did not work, action films that don't work. This one just has so much heart and that character development. To me, that's the number one thing of what's the connecting thread between the two is, and the characters that you care about, characters that you really care about. And Tom Cruise, I have friends that I'll never see a Tom Cruise film, and he does not put himself into a bad film. And yet again, he has put himself into a film where you care about the characters. But I think it's character development.
And speaking of that heart, in the original Top Gun film,
right,
you saw the clash of egos between Iceman, which is played by Val Kilmer,
right,
and Tom Cruise,
right,
which plays Maverick in this film. So you saw that egocentric attitude between these, young, hungry Navy SEALs to building that bond, and they were able to also take Val Kilmer's real life situation and incorporate it into this film.
Right.
What was the significance behind that?
Oh, I think it just, another way to bring more heart in. There's Val Kilmer really with throat cancer, and they bring that in, and it's meaningful. In the original film, you kind of look at him as you look at Hangman in this film. He at the end of the film, you're going, okay, Val Kilmer came through, but for 90% of the film, it's like Hangman. And like you mentioned, how egocentric and arrogant, even just the actor, just to look at his face, he didn't even, it's like that's perfect casting for Hangman. Val Kilmer, same thing, but they're good actors at the core, both of them. And by the end, you're able to appreciate what they bring to the table. And that building of a team, this concept of maybe how can we come together? I think at a deep level, maybe we do yearn to come together in some respects as a country, to be able to enjoy a barbecue with your neighbors. And somehow this film pulls everything together where you actually can.
And pulling this film together, a lot of it was story development.
Right.
So, as you mentioned earlier, we know that Goose passed away
Yeah.
in the last film. And his son Bradley, who is Goose in this movie, comes to age, and he's now a fighter pilot.
Right.
And you see that tension between Maverick and Bradley,
Right.
or Goose.
Right.
So what is the significance of the nonverbal cues that helps tell this story?
Oh, you're watching that and you're thinking this is a perfect scene. In fact, one scene brings out everything you're talking about. Scene in the bar, where everybody can see the tension between Maverick and the younger kid. And Jennifer Connelly can see it too. And all of a sudden, I'm realizing there's no dialogue here. It's just people looking, perfect editing. And I thought this is you could run this scene in film production 1 and convey the idea that movies work better visually if you can let the story be told through the visuals, and that scene does that perfectly.
And speaking of development, film theorists have come up with this idea that in the beginning of the movie, Tom Cruise's character is still needing to feel that need for speed. And they were previously, going to eliminate that program, but he needed to prove them wrong. And he needed to go a little bit faster.
Right.
And he hits that Mach 10 speed. And
he keeps going.
He keeps going.
Yeah.
And many believe that in that scene, Maverick passes away, and the rest of the film is a death dream.
Right.
Where he's trying to recorrect everything that was wrong in his situation. How does that film theory play into the impact on viewers?
It's a fascinating theory. For one thing, in dreams, we tend to keep things repressed. In our waking life, there are thoughts we have, things that we do or don't do, and we tend to keep some of those things repressed, and then they come up in a dream. But in this case, what comes up is his need to be redeemed. Tom Cruise's need to be redeemed, and so that plays out. Fascinating theory. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Professor Stanley, for joining us today, and we
Absolutely.
greatly appreciate you for talking about Top Gun Maverick. And the aroma coming from the tea room is making my stomach rumble. Set your timers and come back for more Tea with Tommy B, only on LUTV.
When you look at the number of disasters in the U.S., chances are every area will deal with some kind of emergency in the next decade. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms.
Thank you.
Go.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
Welcome back. Taylor, what does it take to make one of these delicious quesadillas?
For me, it just takes 3 to 4 ingredients depending on how I'm feeling. So first I start out with my butter. I'm just gonna do a light,
like a light little drizzle on the pan to make it not stick. We don't want our tortillas, whether you use corn or you use flour, you don't want it to stick to your pan, so butter's a great option to use.
And sometimes your butter will stick to your spatula.
That's true.
So after we get that thin coat of butter on there, I'm gonna throw in my tortilla. The butter just kind of helps it get that golden brownness.
Okay.
And next I'm gonna add my other ingredients. We're gonna go ahead and add the cheese so that we can get it heated and melted.
And so what can anybody use? Can they use whatever type of cheese they want? So if they want to use pepper jack or Monterey, they can use those as well?
You can use whatever ingredients you want as a whole. Personally, I like chicken, but you can use beef, you can use cheddar, you can use, sometimes when I make beef quesadillas, I'll even make a garlic butter sauce.
Oh,
but today, we're focusing on cheap and easy meals, so just limited ingredients.
Right. That garlic butter sauce is going to make my tummy rumble. So how long does it take for one of these to be prepared?
I've made them quite a couple times, so for me it takes 10 to 15 minutes as long as I have my ingredients out and I know exactly what I'm doing. Could be longer for those who haven't made one at all.
Right, so it's just a quick, very inexpensive meal, and then all they need is just basic ingredients?
Whether you're a college student or just somebody budgeting, I've found the chicken at my local convenience store already cooked in a bag. It's very delicious, or I can even put it in a salad, but today, of course, we're gonna make our yummy quesadillas.
Okay. Well, how about we give them a try and show our audience what they look like when they're plated?
Of course.
All right.
Look at that cheese.
Look at that cheese just pull apart. It is looking amazing. Taylor, these are some of the best quesadillas I've ever had in my entire life. And Taylor, I can't wait to, fix this for my family, whether it's when I go home for Thanksgiving, maybe we can throw some turkey in there or something like that.
Most
And,
definitely.
Ronald Reagan said that the family begins at the dinner table. And this time of the year, everybody's falling into place. They're coming together. We're just having a grand old time for Christmas and Thanksgiving. But a news article in the news is telling us that the Brady family, they're on the splits. One family's going to Boston, and Brady is staying in Tampa Bay. When does it come time to choose between your family and your career?
As somebody who has recently gotten married, I don't think that you should ever put your career over your family. A career is not forever, but family is, and you always want to make sure that you keep your priorities straight.
Right. And speaking of those priorities and family values, a lot of Southeast Texans families, they believe in those strong family values and the core of being a part of a family. And, Brady's wife may be taking one of his precious gold rings, and who knows, Brady might win another Super Bowl. But when it comes to being a father, I personally feel, I guess like you do too, that's more important, because at the end of the day, those children are not going to care which touchdown he made. They're going to care about the touchdown that he made on their life, in my opinion.
Well, football is timeless and your kids only grow up once.
You're right. 18 years doesn't last very long. The pot is empty on this episode of Tea with Tommy B. We can't wait to see you next time, only on LUTV. For more content from LUTV News, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.